something tells me there's some people sitting in a conference room at Goldman Sachs saying, who the hell is this guy Lonnie? Anyway, that's what we're doing, folks. That's what we're into doing and other things. By the way, Americans for Prosperity, if you visit our website, you can find things like our legislative scorecard, which we issue every year, which scores legislators on key votes, on fiscal and economic issues. We have a number of upcoming events, in the months to come, and we're continuing to fight for liberty and prosperity. So, thanks for having me, and I'll take questions.
Steve, I'm from Bergen County originally, so I'm aware of your existence. I followed you when you were mayor of Leonia, and I'm glad to see you doing what you're doing. I've got a couple of points. One, on the EPA, are they still involved in the state level in this RGGI system, or are they defunding EPA like?
Well, here's what you have happening with the EPA. We have sort of an environmental two-front war here. We have the cap-and-trade program, and you also have EPA regulations being implemented forcing renewable energy standards that are going to have the same kind of destructive impact. There is a major effort in Congress right now to stop the funding of EPA regulatory efforts, because when you allow the administration to accomplish through regulation what they couldn't do legislatively, that not only undermines the economy, it's a violation of democracy. And when Congress sits back and says to the EPA, okay, you regulate the economy to death, we'll let you get away with it, they're abdicating their responsibility. So there is a bill right now called the REINS Act, and the REINS Act says that no regulatory agency can implement any regulations that have more than a $100 million impact on the economy. $100 million is a lot of money, but when you talk about trillions of dollars in the economy, it isn't. And then that they cannot do it without congressional approval. We're hoping that bill passes in 2 weeks. It'll be a very important bill. So yeah, they are trying to do, you heard about all the czars. That's what these czars are doing, trying to do regulatorily what they haven't done legislatively.
Steve, you have to follow through on that. I know they're trying to cut back on EPA. I've heard that just recently. If they cut back on the EPA, part of this program be eliminated because of lack of funding?
This is a state program. This does not come under federal jurisdiction. It's purely state program.
So it's not funded.
The state legislature can repeal this next week and it's gone. So this cap and trade program is purely a state-by-state program.
Steve, why isn't Christie doing something about this? Why isn't he taking a position?
I'm going to be diplomatic here. I don't know. I will tell you that I think that this is one of the key issues for conservatives, more than conservatives. I don't want to eliminate it. I think you should be taking an aggressive position on it. Last year in the budget, they assumed $65 million of revenue from RGGI to fund his budget. I'm going to see the new budget tomorrow, and I want to see if there's a line item in there for that. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the $65 million. How does the state again get this $65 million?
Right. When they do these auctions, a portion of the permits being auctioned belong to each state. It's all proportionate. Okay. Yeah, and so from every one of the 11 auctions, we generate revenue. That revenue goes into what's called the Global Warming Solutions Fund. And ostensibly, it was passed for the purpose of funding green programs. But that didn't even happen. It's just nothing but a tax.
Hey Steve, thanks for doing this. I mean, it's a great idea. This is my first time at one of these events, so. But I've been in the media for a while, worked in the media, and obviously a lot of times, a lot of things don't get filtered down to the grassroots. So how do you think we can get people to listen at the local level? And I'm thinking maybe if we had names of, for example, the DEP people who issued the permits and what their links are to the people in our own localities. I'm from Jersey City. If I could link it to someone local, then I can make it mean something to the people in my city. My congressional district, 13, is pretty much entitlement central, and it's pretty much a Democratic stronghold. So It's a matter of overcoming that obstacle, plus making it mean something to the people on the ground who really, unless they have someone to see it and put a face on it, they don't really get it.
Yeah, well, what we're doing message-wise, you see the TV, radio, I had an op-ed in the Record today, over the weekend. We do some mail, though it's very expensive, lots of internet activity. There's just so much going on today that punching through this amazing amount of information. It's difficult, but we're doing it slowly but surely. What you're talking about is that we did open public record requests with the DEP for basic documents, so about who does what, who's buying the permits, who's issuing them. Their response from Reggie was that they're a nonprofit entity and not open to being transparent to the public. So even though they're set up by the taxpayers, paid by taxpayers, they're claiming to be not subject to open public record requests. So we're in court with that right now.
Yeah, I would think it violates
Yeah, they're
some kind
claiming
of
they're a
statute.
nonprofit organization. It's hilarious. It's the biggest profiteering organization on planet Earth. They're a nonprofit organization. These people are really audacious. You know, they really. You know what I derive from that? What I see their audacity in the ways that there's so much money involved here that people have a reason to be. So.
Question here, go ahead.
Yes, are you getting on campus radios at the colleges?
I did an interview on Fordham Radio, a couple of different radio stations. Yeah, not enough. I'll do more.
In Jersey?
Yeah, I'd like to try to do more. You know, we build presence on campuses, and then the kids we build a presence with graduating. We have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Darn kids, they gotta keep graduating.
Any other questions?
I have one. The actual connection to George Soros? I mean, not that I'm
Well,
disputing
you
it
know,
at all,
what's
but-
the connection? George Soros is just a big liberal visionary socialist, and he just wants to move our country in that direction. That's the connection. These people think up on a different level. They have a different vision for America. You know, George Soros is a man who's made countless billions of dollars by manipulating currencies of nations and using that to fund some of the most far-left programs there are. You know, in the Eastern Bloc countries, he funds educational programs so they can keep teaching American communism. People don't realize.
Two questions.
Good question.
Question, you said that Christie took 65 million out of Reggie and Patterson took 100 million out of Reggie. What happens if all of the other states that are in Reggie take money out of Reggie?
Well, no, see, the money from the sale of the permits goes to the states, to their funds, and it was supposed to go to these green projects. It's just not happening.
I know, but what happens if all of the states at the same time or whatever decide to take money?
The Reggie is just a commodities exchange. It's like the New York Stock Exchange. You own all the stocks of the New York Stock Exchange. They just get a percentage of taxpayers to run the operation. They're not the keepers of the money.
Question back?
How are you helping people who are running for Senate or Assembly?
Well, the first thing we're doing is educating them on this stuff, giving them the tools they need, talking to both Democrats and Republicans to talk to their constituents about it, so that they can have the courage to take a stand. Because I don't want a candidate running for office getting up in front of a room, not knowing the issue, having some libs stand up and say, well, are you going to keep Reggie in place and stop global warming before all the icebergs melt and we all drown? And they get standing there looking like lost souls. So we need to equip these individuals to know what they're talking about. That takes a lot of work just to do that. And we do that with a lot of other bills too, so they know about them before they're passed. Personally, I look for candidates who are going to stand up with clarity and conviction on key issues. That's my first goal, is to find them. I don't particularly care if they're a Republican or an independent, because I'll tell you, I'm an American first, a conservative second, and a Republican third. And you know, I'm going to keep pushing for good candidates. Folks, any other questions?
We have two more.
Two more. I like questions.
Okay. These permits, is it a one-time deal?
Yeah.
JCP&L?
Yeah, one.
They apply, that's it?
It's one consumed.
So these guys are buying it,
Yeah, that's why you
let's say
get
$2 a permit.
Yeah, now they are.
Okay?
But
And they expect to make money on it by selling those permits
Because
back
when
to
you
somebody
buy,
else?
well, when you buy the permits, say you're a trader, you're Goldman Sachs, you buy 1,000,000 permits.
Right.
You put them in a file cabinet. Power company says, we need to buy permits to give to the government for issuing carbon, and then they buy the permit from you, they then turn it over to the DEP and say, here's our permits that we bought, and that's it, they're gone. They're like, they melt, they go away.
Well, they have to use these power and light companies, let's say right now, they have to have the permit in order to operate.
They have to buy permits for everything, and they're buying them in the auctions too. When they have these auctions, the power companies buy them too. They buy as many as they need, they bid for them, and other people bid them up as
Well, I
well.
thought you said it was a one-time deal.
It is a one-time deal, and they have to go into every auction and buy them.
I think this,
The total
this, yeah, there's something confusing here.
Yes.
This year, PSE&G will burn 20 million pounds of carbon off. Next year, they're gonna burn another 20 to 25 million.
That's
So they gotta go back in the auction
Yes.
and buy 25
Every
million.
single time.
Every time they burn a million.
Every carbon permit is goes with that ton. Once they burn a ton, that permit's gone. They burn a second ton, it's gone, that's it. Now, what happens is, it's in your electricity bill. So whatever they're paying for the permits, if they had to buy $20 million in permits this year, 20 million is getting passed to the ratepayers. If they have to buy 100 million next year, that gets passed to the ratepayers. And it's a direct pass-through, there's no restriction.
Sure. And they'll find the price.
So if I go into, now they go into the permit auction, they buy the permits, and they have to turn them over, every 3 months, say, to the DEP. They say, okay, the DEP inspectors come in, and they calculate how much fuel they use, and therefore how many permits they then have to remit to the DEP. It's like currency. It's basically a currency, is what it is. And, imagine the army of regulators they have to put in place to oversee all this. I mean, they said it was going to create jobs.
I am amazed that people have forgotten. I don't care that it's been over a year. That a big expose occurred showing that this so-called climate science is a fraud. They have known it was a fraud. The hockey stick graph was inaccurate the day it was handed in, and Michael Mann knew it was inaccurate. And not to mention Phil Jones of the University of East Anglia saying of Michael Mann, I just used Mike's nature trick of grafting the proxy data onto the real-time temperature series to, ready for it? Hide the decline. Why have people forgotten that, or did they really not?
Lost in the melee. That's what my concern was, with all the stuff going on about how we beat it. They're quietly, and you know what? Politicians want to keep it going because it's a revenue source for them. Remember, the #1 guy who began this in the Northeast was George Pataki. So this has been a bipartisan fleecing of taxpayers, folks. So, well, folks, you guys have been a great audience. We have registration cards to become an AFP activist. That means you get my email newsletter. That's the most important thing. And updates on what we're doing. We don't ask you for money or try to sell you magazines or carbon. Hope you'll join us. Thank you very much.